Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast. I'm your host, Tim, the Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me as always, every week is.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's No Nico Ball, the crossface killer. We don't drop AKAs, but I do have that one, the crossface killer. It's
Hey, I
mine.
respect it. You
Yeah,
gotta show love to your AKAs. I
yeah.
have far too many. So at this point, instead of just picking and choosing, because it's like choosing your favorite child, I'll just keep it simple with Tim Mushmaster Spriggs for now.
Yeah, because I think really what you need to do is channel like that wrestling personality, whichever AKA you associate most with that shooter that's in the wrestling ring now. That's the one you got to go with.
hmm Yeah, Mushmaster's where it's at right now.
Yeah, yeah. So you like I don't know, I saw you posting some wrestling stuff. I wanted to do like a little catch up before we get into your outline to give me time to pull it up. But what's up
Okay.
with that? What you got going on?
What I have going on is March 19th is going to be a major date. Not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing on March 19th or where. It's still up in the air as of last night, but it's going to be a major date in my professional wrestling career, to say the least, on a lot of levels, in a lot of ways. So make sure you guys just keep that date in mind. I'm going to be updating everyone on my social media as soon as I find out what I'm going to be doing and where. I did post a match graphic, but like everything in the business, it's subject to change.
How
Mm.
far do you travel? Like how far could it possibly be?
It's going to be in the DMV.
All
Just a
right,
matter
cool.
of where specifically.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's closer to Maryland side of DMV. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the Maryland side now, but nothing in particular is known. And I'm really excited. I've been working very hard. I've been training in professional wrestling since April of 2021. And I've just been going hard. It's been the one constant that I've had in the last year and a half to 2 years now. And I want to show everybody my hard work. You know, even when I was even when I was preparing for who's number one, professional wrestling was a priority, and it will continue to be the priority because I don't see a future long term in jiu-jitsu for me. Maybe if I open a gym, that'll be my future, but I go to where the money is, and the big bag is in professional wrestling. I don't see a big bag in MMA. I don't see a big bag in jiu-jitsu. I see a big bag in professional wrestling. And at the end of the day, I'm a prize fighter. I have spent the last 2 decades of my life, give or take a couple years, grinding physically, mentally, emotionally, and I want to have something to show for it when it's all said and done. In 10 years, I want to be in a position where I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do. And I think professional wrestling will lead me to that path. And quite frankly, jujitsu can't afford me or the expensive taste that I have. And I know that jujitsu is a fuck deal if you're an athlete. And we're going to get into that later on in the episode, but it's a fuck deal.
I mean, yeah, I
And
think we've talked about that like several times. A lot of people have brought it up. We've talked about articles of other athletes, whether it's from UFC or jiu-jitsu, complaining about the pay. You've talked about it a lot. So I think what you're doing is wise. It's like you've gone like I feel like in this last year you've gone over like regretting everything that you've done with jujitsu to kind of stepping back and appreciating it, but it's kind of gave you the credentials to and like open those doors in wrestling for you. And I think yeah, like you have to be self-aware and you have to be able to recognize where like the doors are opening and take those opportunities because like jujitsu is great, but not everybody's gonna make a career from it. Not everybody wants to have an academy. So then what is the next step?
exactly. Um, exactly. And shout out to Aaron Hurley, my good friend Aaron Hurley.
No, screw Aaron Hurley. Aaron Hurley was in the area like on my one day off since I've been back from Brazil. I have one day
Okay.
off. She gave a seminar so close. Didn't even know she was here. I missed her. My heart breaks. I love and hate her. But
I just wanted to shout her out because she sent me a very cool I guess it's an Instagram video, and it talks a lot about how professional athletes or that well, professional athletes, elite athletes, most struggle financially. I know of Olympians that struggle to fund themselves. You see Nick Del Popolo talk about it a lot. Nick Del Popolo is a two-time Olympian, one of the best judokas the United States has ever produced. And he talks about it a lot, how USA Judo doesn't support the athletes. And if they do support you, it's a very few, like one or two, a handful. And he's one of the best judokas in the world, and he has to grind to make a living. And I think about so many phenomenal athletes, and that's the majority. The exception to the rule is being financially secure or being able to just worry about competing. And I don't want to get off the outline that we have, but I want to say this too. It's very disheartening when I see other grapplers basically shit on their fellow competitors by calling them broke, by saying that, they're the money guy when I'm in these rooms with people. And I know that promoters try to fuck you over in this sport, but everyone's getting jerked around. 99.9% of the people are getting jerked around. And if they're not jerking around, it's because they have a man crush on you or something. But most of the people, they know the situation. If we're being honest with ourselves as jujitsu athletes, it's a fuck deal. And it's very disheartening to see other guys in the industry shit on each other and try to make ourselves look like we're Ric Flair, try to make ourselves look like we're Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather when everyone's getting fucked in this business except the promoters and the people that run the tournaments. That's what I wanted to say. And that that is part of my motivation to be the best professional wrestler in the world and to get all the money and then eventually stop having to fall down for a living, stop having to go through physical anguish, go through life-threatening injuries, breaking all the fingers on each hand. And that's my goal. So yeah, March 19th, it's going to be a very big date in my life. I'm still working very hard every day, and that's been the balance for me lately, Nico. But what's new with you? I see that you have a new mic stand.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I need to get that microphone because we have a Patreon and we're trying to build it. So, would you like to talk to a little bit about the Patreon? Because I wanted to talk a little bit about it too, but you did such a great job in our talks off air about it. So, big up yourself, tell us what's going on, and talk to the folks about the perks of Patreon.
All right. Well, first, I just want to go back and follow up on the whole Erin Hurley thing. If you don't know who she is a black belt that used to train at Marcelo Garcia's, then went home to California and trained with Cabrinha, quit jujitsu, went to MMA, quit MMA, went to EMT. And she has a nonprofit or had one, I'm not sure if she's still doing it, called Submit the Stigma, where
Mm.
she talks about mental health. So she's just like a really, if you don't know her, a dope person to connect to. Like Tim has been saying, like trying to figure out what the hell to do is kind of really hard once you get to a high level. And she's definitely gone through, she's used her skills for a lot of things. It's always cool to watch her journey. Like I love following her on social media. She's very out there with how she's feeling and stuff like that. So you can check her out at Erin Hurley. Like she's even come to the favela with me. If y'all don't know, I'm gonna promote everything. And so this is like my learn to do advertising episode or something. It's like Erin's even come to the favela with me. Like I've taken her to Cantagalo. She's trained at Terere Kids Project at Cantagalo Jiu Jitsu. I took her all the way out to the City of God favela where she was terrified, but she got to train with Gabi Pisania. And then she just really got to experience what it is like training abroad and in the social projects with athletes that don't have a lot of money. Because like Tim was saying, a lot of athletes are really, really damn broke. They're out here grinding, and that's kind of just what I've been doing. Like when you're asking me what's up with me, uh, like everybody knows, I went down to Brazil, and I had to take donations down to Terry Kids Project. But I work with Terry Kids Project, which is a nonprofit
Mhm.
in the US, and we actually got nonprofit status in Brazil. So we're a new nonprofit 2 times now. Um, that was incredibly hard. It's taken years and years to get that status in Brazil. So that's really dope. So I had to take donations down for them, but I was also taking equipment down for my company, for like the media company, for Jello Jiu Jitsu. So like microphones, I took a PodTrack 4 down, and they're using it to not only produce a podcast, but to go out into tournaments. They were at ADCC trials. They were interviewing people. They interviewed Howell from HT in Portuguese, which is like really dope. And they got that like nice audio quality and everything. So that's really dope to see, you know, so much that I've put into like all of these people in Brazil, helping out people in Terere Kids Project and helping out my partner, Samambaya, that's in Sao Paulo, or the other projects in Sao Paulo, to really see like what it's coming to. And it's been really amazing. So that's really dope.
I'm happy to see that progress that you made. And it's a long, slow process. You know, there's no such thing as an overnight success story. It's thousands of hours put in.
It really is. And like not just myself, like it required finding a team. Like I'm sure you know, like when you're getting into wrestling, like you have your coach, you have your teammate that's always there. Like it's really hard to get shit done by yourself. So if I didn't have people like, if I didn't have mentors, people like Master Lloyd, who's over like the pandemic, has sent me to like a business conference, which was great. I've paid for like consultation in the area so I could learn more. Like without these people to like help and support, like I would never be able to like grow the business as much as I have been able to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, congratulations on that. Building a team is important. And, you know, we've been progressing very well as a pod the last year and a half. And part of that progress is seen in the Patreon that we have at patreon.com/BJJ And, you know, we have a lot there. It's a lot of perks. And I wanted to say that very few times in your life are you going to be able to get the ear of someone that is elite at something, someone that's world class. And with the Patreon, the BJJ Goons Patreon, you have access to me, the #1 grappler in the world, black belt world champion, multiple time world champion, gi and no gi. And that's what you can have at the BJJ Goons Patreon. The Patreon has the Trainwreck system on there. I've been updating it onto the Patreon. We have bonus episodes of the podcast, special interviews with the likes of DJ Jackson, Lloyd Irvin, uh, Master Donnie. We have interviews with Jamil, Shane Hill Taylor, so much stuff. I mean, we have a whole top secret uh chat group. We have a Discord channel where we have all types of top secret stuff going on over there. We have a private community all over at Patreon. And, you know, if you're lucky and you ask me, if you message me and you're a member of Patreon, I can even do special requests. If you have a technical issue that you have in your jujitsu, if you have a move that you always wanted to learn, you can hit me up if you're a Patreon member, and I will go out of my way to record an in-depth breakdown of whatever you need. All that you can get on the Patreon. That's one of the perks, one of the many perks of joining the BJJ Goons Patreon. I do not have a instructional series out right now. And I wanted to invest my time in the people that invest in the BJJ Goons movement, invest in Nico and myself. And that's where you're going to be able to get in touch with me mostly. And that's where I'm going to be able to provide with you all of my expertise in the grappling world. And, you know, that's where we're going to start focusing a lot of our energy in it. So if you want to see more access to us, if you want to see more content from the BJJ Goons, the BJJ Goons Patreon at patreon.com/BJJ Goons is where you need to go. Anything you want to add to that, Nico?
No, actually, yeah. So I think like going off that, I think like before you invest in a Patreon or anything like that, it's just think of where are you trying to go with jujitsu, and then what do you need to get there? Because yes, we want you to give us money, but also it's like you have to be able to take value of whatever you're paying for. So a lot of people that could, like, for example, if you're having problems with a technique at your gym, and like you can ask your coach, sometimes you train at a gym where there's a lot of people and you don't have the opportunity to ask questions. Like that's something that you should really internalize and think like, I need to work on this. And then the next thing is find out like who can help you work on that. And that's kind of why we have the Patreon. So not just that we're posting techniques every week, but also to have like more of an engagement of a back and forth with people, which would make it a lot more fun and interesting.
For sure. That's what I enjoy about it. When we were cooped up in the crib for all of 2020 and a good chunk of 2021, what I learned was that within the jiu-jitsu community, you can still build a community of like-minded people or people that want to build something. And that was the catalyst for starting a Patreon. And that's what we have at the BJJ Goons Patreon. And that's what we want to build. We can complain all day about jiu-jitsu not having safe spaces for people. We complain about the Joe Rogans of the world, but if you really want to make something happen, if you want to make your own community, that's where you got to start. So yeah, like Nico said, I agree completely with what she said. Just give us a look at, just check us out at patreon.com/bjjguns. Now let's get into some news. We had the ADCC trials of South America, part two,
Deux,
part
le
deux.
segundo.
Yeah,
Yes.
segunda, dos.
And that was last weekend already. We're actually on time with filming.
For sure, yes. We're recording on
Yes.
Friday night.
I don't
So
even know when
yeah,
it is. That was a question. That was not a statement. That was a question. But yeah, it was last
yeah, we
weekend. The
on
trials,
time.
it was dope. I watched so much jujitsu. I watched a lot of the trials on top of having to edit highlights for Favela Jiu Jitsu. So slide on over to their Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, so who were the, well, other than the winners, what stood out for you?
The brackets were freaking huge. That's the number one thing that stood out to me about the event. The brackets were giant. And when I was looking at the highlights, looking at some matches, and just observing the overall environment of South American jiu-jitsu, basically Brazilian jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu in Brazil. And I said this a year ago, possibly even 2 years ago. And I'm going to continue to say, when traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners start investing time in the nogi game, specifically the wrestling and the leg locks, the Americans are going to have a harder time.
And they're starting to do it now.
Yeah, if you look at any of those matches and the highlights, definitely the people that won, you're going to see that this whole American Jiu-Jitsu thing, that bubble's about to burst, because how long have they been able to have a head start? A few years of guys just doing no-gi only, doing these rule sets where you don't have to earn position. You can just stall for 10 minutes and land on someone's back in overtime. These guys know real jiu-jitsu. They came up in the grind of we're doing gi and we do no gi too. So we do both. And we have a tradition of jiu-jitsu going back almost 100 years. Well, now definitely 100 years. And now we know leg locks. But now we can add the wrestling that is pretty even now, because a lot of Brazilians have come to America. They learned jiu-jitsu. Oh, and newsflash, ADCC has been dominated by Brazilians since an inception. Some notes that I have: Roberto Jimenez is an animal.
Yeah,
He
he came
showed
down for
out.
the US. He was in the first trials and the second trial. So a lot of these athletes, if they didn't win in the first weekend, they traveled to the second one, which was crazy to see as well.
Yep. That's dedication. I'm calling him Tarzan from now on, because he looked like Tarzan. He probably traveled around and just hid out in the jungle since the last time we've seen him, and he's improved a lot. Maybe it's something about him clearing his head. Maybe he's unleashed that demon inside. But man, he put a hurting on those guys. He is a hammer, and he's so young. It's so awesome to see that he came into the game as a black belt, beat Keenan his first match at black belt in the gi, and he's kept on grinding. And there's going to be peaks and valleys in your career. He's had some peaks, he's had some valleys in a short amount of time, but now he went to the trials. He flew all the way to Brazil. He went into the wilderness. He went into the cut, so to speak, the inferno, and he came back out with a ticket to ADCC, and he can win. If you look at his performance, he can win.
Yeah, straight up. And he's really proud about being all natural. He's definitely on a health kick, and he's got something to prove, just like you at ADCC. So his performance will definitely be.
Yeah, and he has nothing to lose. If you have a feeling that you have nothing to lose and you can just go out there and attack, that's better than anything. Can I have a sidebar about the all natural shit? I get
Go.
it, man. We get it. You know,
Oh, you
a
tired of
lot
hearing it?
of
You don't want to hear it, or?
I'm tired of hearing about it. Like, okay, we get it, man. Like, I'm all natural too, but ringing the bell of, oh, I'm natural, everyone else is cheating. I understand. And as someone that's natural, I get it. But at a certain point, you just got to hang that shit up, because most of the time when you're trying to make this argument that you're the best because you don't do steroids, these fans are shitty in jujitsu, a lot of them, and they don't care. It's like baseball, to them, it's like baseball, where baseball's not a contact sport. Yes, that's the difference, but people just want to see home runs. Jiu-jitsu fans, if they're dick riding a certain guy that they know is on steroids, no matter how much you say that he's a cheater and how much you're clean, the only way to really shut these people up or to prove your point is to win. So, I'm all for Roberto claiming that he's clean. I believe him, but man, just go out there and perform. Like, at the end of the day, you just got to win that shit. And then that's all that matters. But yeah, more power to him.
X.
Fabricio Andre's performance brought a tear to my eye.
Yo, his performance was beautiful both weekends. I have so many of his fights, so many highlights. Like, absolutely amazing.
Fucking ridiculous. He's the epitome of modern jujitsu, and he did things that I can't do very well, and that makes me more impressed. Yeah, I'm not a hater. I admire when people can do things that I can't do, and I have to rewind their shit. And I'm gonna go for shit in practice. At this point in my life, in my career, I like to play around and do shit in practice, because if I just try to win every round by doing the same shit, is boring. And guys like Fabricio Andre inspire me to do that type of stuff. And
Yeah,
he's mixing jujitsu,
yeah.
wrestling, judo, and
Beautiful
nogi.
shots, beautiful ankle picks, beautiful throws, like
It,
so technical, like so crisp. That was the thing. They were also crisp.
it, he's on a roll. He won worlds this year, right? He
He
won
did. He did. He
worlds.
took
He
out
beat Jamil
Jamil.
in the
Like,
final. He
yeah.
beat Jamil in the finals. Shout out to Jamil. I want to see that you're healthy, Jamil. I want to see you win this title at ADCC. And Fabricio Andre, man, if he can win ADCC, fuck not getting any media attention. This guy might be grappler of the year. He might be pound for pound number one, and he can win. I forgot what division. I think he's 77 kilos. 77 kilos, I believe.
No, my notebook with my notes. Here we go.
77 kilos, I think. Whatever division he's in, he went into Brazil. He's a Brazilian South American trials winner. Whew. I got to see this guy compete some more. I want to see what happens in Vegas. Maisa Bastos, she might be the next one up in the lower weight classes. I got to shout out to my ladies, Yara, Gabby Pasanya, Baby, all those bigger girls. But Mesa Bastos has become dominant in the lower weight classes.
Yeah,
Her
definitely. Always has been. Her beer and bolo is sick.
even her triangles, like she has become very dominant. She's on a roll. She might be the next GOAT in the women's division. Not even just women's division, men's or women's, because I can't see a man doing what she does in her division with that wide of a weight gap. I don't see it. The only way I could see it maybe was like if we had lightweight and below back in the day when Hoffa was doing a lot of competitions. That's the type of vibe I get from her, where she is so technically sound. She is so experienced in such a short amount of time. She's still very young and she's got that dog in her and that killer instinct. I've seen it in Hoffa. She's got that kind of glow to her, and her game translates perfectly to Nogi. She's an easy favorite to win. She has a great coach. She has a great program in Unity. There's no reason why she can't win this ADCC handedly. There's no reason why she can't. Super impressed by her. She was in the lower weight class and she's a tiny girl.
Yeah,
She's
she's
a
real
tiny
small.
woman,
She's a
not
rooster
girl.
weight.
She's a rooster bodying people in 60 kilograms and below. I don't know the kilogram translation too well, but she's in the lower end of the division and she's bodying people. And my final note is Diogo Heish, Baby Shark.
Diogo dos Reis. He was mushing
Diogo,
people. He tried to mush my fiance or my ex fiance,
yeah,
Yeah, he was out there like he was going at it. I haven't seen anybody but you do that. I was like, okay.
grimy ass wrestling.
Oh,
That's my note.
amazing.
Grimy ass wrestling, and I respect that. Yeah, everyday pohada. I love seeing how the game is getting pushed forward in grappling. I like to pride myself as someone that since my beginning in the sport, I wanted to be a well-rounded grappler, and I trained the judo, I trained the wrestling, I know jujitsu, I do leg locks, and the combination of wrestling and jujitsu is so beautiful to see. And I think that's the difference that we saw in the South American trials and what we see in modern American jiu-jitsu. Maybe it's because of the promotions and the rule sets they have, and maybe it's because it's ADCC, but I see a huge dichotomy between South American trials and American style, where I've seen in American style, guys just want to pull guard. They want to play the advantage game. They want to play the leg lock game. They don't want to come up. They're very much in the micro of the sport. When in the South American trials, we saw the macro. We saw we're fighting.
It's the pojada. Like
It's
Brazilians like really stick to
Pohada.
that. To like the training in Brazil. Like I took one person down when I went to Brazil. Um, and we only trained at social projects, but even in academies like GF Team and Checkmat, they're the same. Like the training, the level of training and the intensity, and not just the intensity, but like the attention to detail and like tournament, like getting points and advantages and knowing that it's not comparable in the US. Like everybody, even like in the kids classes, they'll have like little campeonatinhos or like tournaments. Like they're it's a different style. It's like it's hard to compare. So yeah, I could definitely see that in the wrestling, the way that they just jump on like heel hooks and different moves. They're a lot more aggressive and definitely not doing that double guard bullshit.
I think it's cultural. I think the way jiu-jitsu has been marketed in the States, it's very soft, for lack of a better term. It's very much, oh, you're just gonna flow. The little man can beat the big man. But what I saw in the trials and the way I was brought up is this is a fucking fight. And we're trying to win. We're not trying to get by. I'm trying to murder you. Prime example, Gutenberg Pereira in his finals match, he wasn't fucking around. Goes him out. arm triangle, give me my novelty check, give me my ticket to Vegas. Fantastic. I love to see it. And that was my take from the ADCC South American trials. I mean, we could be here all day talking about it, but if you guys want to see it, go to Flow Grappling, invest in Flow Grappling, because I hate to admit it, the more people that pay to subscribe to Flow, maybe hopefully they pay the fighters more money. I'm not sure
Wait,
how that translates, but
you got
don't
30
be
grand and you want more money?
fuck yeah, I want more money.
Okay.
I've been doing this shit since Bush was in office. You kidding me? Hell yeah, I want more money. Let me tell you, I don't want to get a tangent, but I'm gonna
Nope.
say it
Yep.
anyway.
Anyway,
No,
Europeans.
no. Europeans. Go to
Europeans.
Europeans. We, as of this recording, the black belts haven't begun yet. Maybe they have. It's an 8-hour difference. So by the time we finish recording, maybe some of our compatriots in the jiu-jitsu community in Europe right now will be waking up, preparing to compete. But I'm glad to see jiu-jitsu back in Europe. It's a good sign that maybe we are in a better place with the germ.
Oh no,
And
that's a good point. Is this the first IBJJF in Europe since the pandemic?
I think there was an Italian Open, possibly, maybe.
Huh. Dang. I just want Europeans to go back to Portugal to its proper place. I'm taking over. We should go. You should go. Everybody should go to Europeans in Portugal next year. But yeah, I didn't think about that. This is probably like, yeah, IBJF's one of IBJJF's first competitions out there.
And
Hmm.
there's people from all different parts of Europe coming in there, and you're seeing a lot of great jujitsu. When I first started doing jujitsu, Europeans were still kind of in its infancy. It wasn't as big, but there was always hammers because Europe has a very strong style of grappling.
That
They
Viking style.
Viking style, just grimy, gritty style that Europe has a very good history of grappling, and they have excelled in wrestling and judo, and they've made jujitsu in their own, and they're doing a great job over there as well. And you can't sleep on any of the Europeans. And I'm seeing the highlights, I'm seeing the results. I'm glad to see that that style of grappling has taken over, and these guys are good. And I like to make the argument that Euros should be treated on the same level as Worlds or Pans. I think all the Grand Slams should get equal respect because we've talked about it before. Not everyone has an equal opportunity to get to certain competitions. I think that we should treat this like tennis. If you win a Grand Slam, you're a Grand Slam champion. You are legit. And at any given day, you could be facing one of the best in the world or the best in the world at one of these tournaments. You go through a tournament like a Grand Slam, which should have prestige. You deserve to get that respect, that stamp. Who's to say that the best grappler in Europe, even though he can't make it to Worlds, isn't the best grappler in the world? In the
Very
world we
true.
live in with the germ, in the world we live in with visas, and some people can't make it to certain places. In like it's definitely your Brazil. Some people can't make it to these different competitions, but if you're at a Grand Slam and you're fighting the best of the best, you need to get that respect. I think all of them should be held in equal regard because, as we learned over the last couple years, a tournament is just a name only. If you go to a tournament and you're not fighting the best, it doesn't mean shit. So, yeah, it could be the world's, but if the best guys in the world that just so happen to be in other parts of the world can't make it to the competition and you win, yes, congratulations. You're a world champion. But could you have won this tournament if you were in Brazil and they had different people there? Could you have won the tournament if you were in Europe and you had to go against a murderer's row of guys? We can't really tell. So I think that the Grand Slam should all be held in the same regard. And we're starting to see that Europe is getting to that point where it's a territory that has the best in the world, whether or not we have a name of worlds at that tournament or not.
Have you checked out the brackets at all?
I haven't had an opportunity to. I was gonna watch it tomorrow. I know some of the names in it, but I haven't seen the actual brackets.
Yeah, because I know I saw like Taliesin Suarez. He's out there. I haven't seen him competing in a while. Last I heard, I think he opened academy in Australia. So, he's on the other side of the world. So I haven't seen him in the US. I don't remember the last time he competed. Europeans is definitely a little bit closer to for him.
Uh-huh.
Um, it looks like Eduardo Hockey's out there. Like he's in Spain though, or he was posting from Spain. Like there's also these weird quarantine like regulations for getting into Italy. So it's still a little bit weird.
Oh,
Uh-huh. I heard well, like you were saying, black belts haven't gone, purple belts have gone. There was a purple belt from Today Kids Project that actually managed to get all the way out there. And she actually won her division and then got third in absolute. And
beautiful.
absolutely beautiful. I was so proud. She is a beast. She's a killer. So Today Kids Project has sent Moicano out there, Jonathan Marquez. We brought a teacher out there, and then this will be the second like student from the project that's like actually, a high level competitor to go out there,
Uh-huh.
and she killed it. And then I was seeing on BJJ Korea, if anybody's interested, she posts all of the podiums. It's all in Portuguese, but it will translate. That's BJJ and then Korea, CRIA. She's been going through posting all the results to all of these tournaments. So that's really dope if you want to see. She said at the time that Laura won, like when the purple belts, like only
Mhm.
two Brazilians had like won first place at that time. So that just kind of
Wow.
goes to show, I think like the numbers with the pandemic, with the visas getting there, it like definitely changed the vibe of the competition. But it was interesting to see everybody that she fought, like kind of Scandinavian names. You definitely fight like a different um, class of people, unless you're me. I went out to Europeans the first year and lost to like Nicole Evangelista. Like could have been something exotic, but no. But even if you're not black belt, even
Mm.
if you're not trying to be a world champion, like I always recommend Europeans. It's one of my favorite competitions. Italy is amazing. I guess I'm used to going to Lisbon every year, but just being able to travel, even though I work for Flow Grappling so much during Europeans, like being in Portugal is really dope. So I highly recommend, like, if you're a competitor or even if you're just training, like take your ass to Europeans because you will love the experience. You will love competing out there. It will definitely be with somebody from a different country, and that's always fun. You get that at Worlds, but you
Mm.
still get a lot of American, Brazilian, and European. It's definitely like Spain, Mexico, like a whole bunch of countries are represented, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah. And I think it makes it more fun. You know, it just would be so much better if we could probably get some big time bucks in the sport. And there were so many dope ass, broke ass grapplers. We just was getting paid doing this shit. But nonetheless, I'm glad to see jiu-jitsu grow. Uh, Speaking of money, though, you saw the outline.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little black belt wisdom for you guys, a little background about buy-in tournaments. Let's get into it. Today's black belt wisdom. I'm going to talk about buy-in tournaments. Do you know what a buy-in tournament is? I don't know what the proper term is. This is jiu-jitsu. It's the Wild West. Half the time I make up stuff, like as far as names, because it doesn't have a name yet. I
Yeah,
call
it's
these
like when you're
buy-in
going
tournaments.
to play poker and you have to pay money to sit down at the table.
Yes,
It's a
absolutely.
buy-in. That's your buy-in.
Yeah, and in gambling, it kind of makes sense. I think the World Series of Poker, there's a big money buy-in, but most of the time when there's a big money buy-in, you're getting sponsored by someone to buy in for you because there's a huge purse at the end of it. And even if you don't win, you make a shitload of money and you can pay off the sponsor. You split the money. There's a big purse. There's a big bag, right? Well, there's some differences between professional gambling, such as poker, and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. One, professional gambling is not a contact sport, and you're not in physical danger unless you cheat. And also, if you're going to be promoting the best guys in the world, you're promoting stars when you're putting on a tournament such as this that you're trying to promote, which you're trying to put a cash prize in, right? You need to pay the stars. You got to pay the performers. So recently I've been offered a few times actually to
This
do
is
one of
what I
these.
wanted. Screw the buy-in. I wanted to know where this was coming from. What happened? Give us the tea. This
It
isn't
happens a
black belt
lot.
wisdom. This is tea. I'm sorry, y'all, because I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the outline. I'm not being rude and not listening to Tim. I'm calculating numbers that he has written down here. But yeah, this is tea. I was wondering where we were going with this.
I've been offered a lot of opportunities to compete at these buy-in tournaments, and I find it insulting because I'm insulted not for myself, because that'd be egotistical. I'm not an egotistical guy. I look at it as an athlete and as someone that has sacrificed a lot. And I feel for other people that are in my position that have grinded their whole life to be great at something. And then they get told that, yeah, we're going to give you this cash prize, this $5,000 cash prize, but you got to buy in for $200. And it's a 16-man bracket. $200 buy-in. That is more than IBJJF. People bitch and moan about the IBJJF. But if you do your local IBJJF tournament, within driving distance, you're not going to have to pay $200 to compete in that.
Are you going to get $5,000?
Well, it depends. Depends on what
When are
tournament
you
you.
ever going to get $5,000 from IBJJF?
I mean, for a Grand Prix, and they pay for you to go.
IBJJF has a Grand Prix.
They have Grand Prix for a lot of money. They have Grand Prix for a lot of money. Nonetheless, $200 buy-in, that's more than your fee to go to a tournament. And unlike poker, which they're copying this pay scale, this Ponzi scheme from, if you lose in the World Series of Poker, but you like make it pretty far, you're going to get your money back and then some. This, you don't get shit. And chances are you're
Get
going to
your
be.
money back in poker.
Yeah, you can.
How are you going to get your money back if you lose your money?
Have you? All right. So in the World Series of Poker, like, guys, just because you don't win, you can still get money out of it. You can fold and take your money and go.
But you never get the buy-in back. You will never get your buy-in back. You can earn your buy-in back.
You can earn it back, yeah.
But you won't get it back. They won't give it to you. If you're not good at poker, like you don't get your
most
buy-in.
of the
You
people
never
leave
get your
with
buy-in
money
back.
if you're not good. But this is all the money goes to one person.
But that's different in poker. If you get your money back, you're getting it from other people. Like if I have to pay like Master Lloyd TLI to get in
But
the
okay,
game.
so here's the thing though. If it's winner takes all in a grappling tournament, everyone's broke except for the person that wins. I'm just against you promoting me on a card, which is basically like a super fight card or a tournament, right? And you're promoting me like I'm a star in it. You're asking me to do it, but you're telling me, hey, pay me $200. So you're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul or robbing Peter to pay Peter. I think that's stupid.
Well, I mean, it works out to only $3,200. So like, it's not enough to pay the 5K between the 16 people.
Okay.
Like for you, I understand. Like for you, I understand. Like you're not trying to fight for $5,000. Like for somebody like doing it in general, like for you to pay 200 and like get back 5 G's.
That's stupid. I think that's dumb.
But like IBJJF is 150, and if you want to do gi and no gi, then you're at 200, and then you're only getting a medal.
But
you don't pay for IBJJF, maybe.
I do. I mean, I think about it. If I paid all that money to be a registered black belt, I shouldn't have to pay for tournaments. On top of me paying to be a member, I shouldn't have to pay for tournaments. So nonetheless, I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should buy in and do that shit. $200. Why am I paying you $200 to go compete and might end up with nothing?
But you do that all the time. Like, and you're still almost paying $200. Grappling industries, even like grappling industries is like $150. Let me look it up right now. Grappling industry. Like these joints are expensive. And like,
they're not going to pay for your travel expenses. I wouldn't do these competitions because they only ask for people that are good to do them. I'm assuming
you got to think about it. Think about it like this. Master Lloyd got a purple belt living in his house that has no job. Are you are you kidding me? Hell yeah. $200. Come back with
They
five
asked me
stacks, Al.
though, then I'm
Come
not a
back with
purple
five
belt.
stacks. Come
I'm
back
not a
with five
purple belt.
stacks.
If you're an
That's why
elite
I said
grappler,
maybe
don't
for
do this
you, you're a
shit.
black belt, you're established, 30,000, super fight. But for somebody else on different, like, yo, if you're hustling, you got to think about that. For $200, like one mic that I'm talking about,
A 60-man bracket.
$265 for one thing. I could risk that. It's like a gamble. It's like betting. I would 100% do that. Do that, and I could buy half a suit. Like, yeah, hell yeah, 5 cheese. But like, you gotta do it intelligently, like, for example, like high rollers, I wonder how much the registration is, but you get like weed and you get cash, but it's like absolute. Like, is that going to be in my best interest? Maybe I don't want to buy in, but I think you can buy in intelligently. Like, not everybody's contractable, Tim. Like, you're contractable.
I think it's dumb. I'm not doing that shit, man. I don't like the idea of doing that. Like, no. Why?
But
Why
you
would you
always
do?
buy in. 16-man bracket, and then you got to think, like, how much is world? How is your bracket in worlds? 150
Worlds
people.
is way more prestigious though.
Who the fuck cares? It's 5K
In a 60-man bracket.
and a 16-man bracket. You're not doing that?
If you're an elite,
Yo.
but I'm assuming they're inviting elite black belts. If you're an elite black belt, don't fucking do that. They should be paying you
Oh,
and your
okay. Not
flight.
elite black belts. I don't, yeah,
That's
not
what I'm
again.
saying. If you're a world class competitor, first of all, a $5,000 cash prize in a 16-man bracket, that's a slap in the fucking face. That's a slap in the face. All right, so let's say we take the 16 best guys in the world. You're telling them to pay $200 your own flight and to go own hotel for $5,000? No fucking way. Why the fuck would you do that?
Not elite black belts. Not elite black belts.
That's what I'm
Like a seminar,
saying.
a seminar is 2 Gs.
Yeah. And you
Yeah,
don't have to
okay.
fight 4 people.
You left out that detail. Like, you did say you got invited, but I think of these tournaments of any kind of buy-in. Like,
I mean, it depends if you're coming up, but if you're living in someone in a fighter house and you're broke, like you got to take that into account. But we're assuming that these tournaments are trying to get the best people and they're trying to bring in people for name recognition. Well, my thing is this: know your damn worth. That's one of the themes of the show. Know your worth.
but see, that's a different thing. Like, so
That's
there's
what I was
one
trying
thing
to make
buy-in
before you.
competitions. There's another thing being like, oh, whether it's a buy-in or even signing a contract where they'll pay you and it's a shitty deal for that name recognition because you don't know your worth. And that's a whole different kind of like
But
approach.
you should
Like,
know you. I personally have been invited to these before, and I think to myself, why the fuck would I do that? A 16-man bracket, and you're gonna slide in my DM and say, "Hey, man, give me $200. You got to fight in a 60-man bracket with a bunch of really tough guys and only get $5,000." I think the point I'm trying to make is number one, if you're a great grappler, if you're in elite and they're inviting you to places, you need to negotiate and say no, or be like, no, you're gonna have to pay for us to show up because as much as like they're saying that, oh well, this is good for you, it's $5,000. Yeah, but that's nothing. That is nothing for a 16-man bracket of the best guys available and the best guys in the world.
how much you want for it?
For a 16-man
Yeah,
bracket,
put a price on it.
if
How
we're
much you doing
assuming
it
that
for,
we're
Tim?
putting
How
it
much you doing it for?
100,000,
Damn, Tim.
yeah. Okay, all right. So you're taking the 16 best guys in the world, right? You got to think that when you're going in this competition, first of all,
Wait, what venue? Like,
I
okay, or all right. It's like,
we're
who's
not going to go
actually
into
getting
those
16
details.
of the legit best guys in the
If we're
world?
all right,
But
so
all
here's
right.
here's the issue with my issue, and we talk about this all the time because that's one of the themes. We had this long discussion about what we are as a podcast and what our themes are. Our themes are knowing your worth as an athlete, right? If we're taking the best guys in the world in a sport that is super hard, and the preparation alone is going to cost us a lot of time, money, and energy, and we discussed earlier that most elite athletes are struggling as it is. Why make it harder on ourselves by accepting this shit? Because if you're going to be a promoter, your job is to promote. Your job is to build a rapport with the athletes and put on the best show possible. Well, if you're putting up numbers like this, as athletes, we got to hold their feet to the fire too, because let's face it, is it really worth for us to put our lives on the line out here if we're not going to get rewarded justly? Is it worth it taking the time, money, and energy into preparing for these competitions if we're not going to be duly compensated? No. So then we're just at a Mexican standoff. We say it all the time. You make more money not competing than you do competing. So if we're competitors and we have that side hustle, which is important, and most of us probably should, and a lot of us have varying degrees of it, fuck it then. Tell them no and demand more. We should be demanding way more. If you're going to bring in a 16-man bracket with great guys, or you want to have a good show, or you want to have elite black belts that are reputable, we need to have hard and fast rules. You're going to pay for our flight. You're going to pay for our fucking hotel, and we're going to leave with something to show for it. Because if you're saying that we're going to pay in, that means you're paying for half of our purse. What are you paying for? Some little hole in the wall gym? Or you could do some shit where you own a gym, or you just ask a buddy that owns a gym, hey, can we hold this tournament at your spot? So you might not have any overhead. The athletes that are buying in are already paying for damn near 3/4 of the cash prize, which isn't that much money to begin with. You don't have to pay for their flight. You don't have to pay for their hotel. It's jujitsu, so there's no commission oversight. It's not like you, even in pro wrestling, you got to take a physical. In pro wrestling, you have to be in some states like Virginia, you have to be a licensed professional wrestler, and you have to pay money just to professional wrestle. In grappling, we're so bush league and we're so in like like we're like this is the baseball equivalent. This is like we just learned like what kind of bats to use, like what type of wood. We just figured out like what rules we have. And we don't even have hard and fast rules in jiu-jitsu. We don't even have unified rules. We don't have commission oversight. So they're not paying for a commission. They're not paying for shit. They might even have medics at this fucking spot. So really what they're doing is you're paying to just roll around all sweaty with other roided up guys and rash guards. And whoever's running the tournament, they're going to have an audience there that pays money. If they have concessions, either the vendors paid the promoter or the promoter has concessions there and they're getting a cut or they're selling their shit. And if they have a live stream, fuck, they have a live stream, people might be paying to see this. So basically, you're just paying money to go fly out for a wing and a prayer and a little bit of money that you're gonna maybe break even for all the time that you spend away, and then from your family and all the time that you invested from your business or your side hustles. Fuck that. No. Ugh. No. And I'm saying this, maybe it's not palatable for people that are up and coming, but if you want to be an elite level and you envision yourself being that way, or you're already there, don't do shit like this. It's ridiculous. Demand more. And if that means that you just lose the opportunity to go, fuck it. Lose the opportunity to go. But you got to hold promoters' feet to the fire. You can't just let the elite guys sign up to do shit like this, because then it makes it worse for the people that are below us on the totem pole. And we'll never get to where we're going to be. And it'll always be generations of Jacares that were the best grapplers of their era, but ended up having to go get CT in the UFC where they don't pay these guys enough fucking money to do it, instead of being great at jujitsu because we were scabs and we let like shit like this go down. I think it's fucking outlaw mud show bullshit. But I mean, your perspective is different because you know guys that live in fighter houses, no shade, that are still up and coming. But if you're in that kind of life situation, do you really have $200 to really gamble? And it's not just $200, Nico. If you're paying for your own flight, if you're paying for your own hotel, you're going to spend more than $200.
You good?
I'm fine. I just had to
That
give
was
the
a
guy,
lot. That was a lot.
I'm sorry if I went to, but I want to give I want to give the people some background. I want to defend my stance in this black belt wisdom.
Got you.
That's
Got you.
it for me, though.
All right. Y'all can find me on Instagram at no new Nico. Like we were saying before, make sure to slide on over to the Patreon too. That's patreon.com/BJJ And we got merch on favelajujitsu.com as well. You can get your green Goons hoodies and your interim these nuts t-shirts.
Yes, you can find me at Tim Spriggs BJJ on Instagram or Facebook. I want to give a special shout out to John's Fit Meals. Go to johnsfitmeals.com. They are the best meal prep service I've ever used. They're the best in the business. Use promo code BJJ Goons for a very special discount on behalf of us. Also, Blue Edge Business Solutions. They are the best website development company and website marketing company that you can have. This has been the BJJ Goons podcast. Make sure you check us out at patreon.com/BJJ Goons. We'll see you next time. Peace.